How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. Like every other video, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered or featured in next week's video, make sure you guys drop a comment down below. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the question. So first question of this week is, what is the proper break-in procedure? And this could get a little bit controversial, but I'm gonna say what I believe and what I do in practice with my own car. So I think that as long as you're driving the car at operating temperature, then I don't think it needs any special treatment or anything like that. So for example, with my car, I let it warm up, left the dealer, did a pull immediately, and car has over 20,000 miles now with no issues. I've done this with all my cars and haven't had any issues yet. I think it's a lot more important to change the oil at a much frequent basis versus what the Honda algorithm tells you. But I don't think that you need to go ahead and baby the car for 500 miles or 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever the case may be, or whatever you believe in. Now, you can do that. That's more than okay. Obviously, it's your car. Do what you feel is right for you. But if you're going to ask me, I'm going to say warm up the engine, drive it around for a little bit. Just make sure it's up to operating temperature, and then go balls to the walls if you want. And you don't have to worry about anything like that. There's, in my opinion, nothing that's going to make the car or the engine go bad by doing anything of that nature. So once again, as long as the car is at operating temperature, engine and transmission, I think you could go and just wide open throttle it, and you won't have any issues or anything of that nature. This next question is about a 2022 Honda HR-V brake pad intervals, and that's really a hard question to answer because everyone drives a car differently and in different scenarios. So somebody might be more aggressive but drive more on a highway, or somebody less aggressive that does more city driving might equate to the same exact brake pad life. So typically we see between 30 to 45,000 miles. I have seen as early as like 20,000 and as late as about 80,000. So again, it really depends, but typically speaking, we're looking at 45 to 60,000. And if the pad life is still good, there's no reason to change it, unless if the rotors happen to warp, which is pretty common. And at that point, the pads are like at, let's say 4 millimeters or so. Then it's probably a good idea to just change the pads while you're resurfacing the rotors or replacing the rotors. But if there's no reason to be changing the pads at that time, then I would just wait until they're about 2 to 1 millimeters, or you hit the squealer. And at that point, that would be the right time to change the pads. Again, doing it anything earlier than that would probably be wasting some money. But again, if for some reason you're in there and it needs to be changed, then at that point, you know, you would do it. If not, then just let it be until the squealer is touching the rotor, or the you know, they're about 2 to 1 millimeters and you're advised at that point, then that'd be the correct time to be changing the pads. The next question came from a subscriber who had an issue with the BMW, and he asked if there's a way to release the transmission on a 10AT. Now, the 10ATs come across various models already, both on the Honda and the Acura side. So there is a way to do it. It is only a mechanical way. There's no like special button sequence or anything like that to release it. So you would have to, in most cases, go under the hood, or in all cases, you're gonna have to go under the hood and remove various components, maybe a battery tray, maybe an airbox, or whatever it may be. I'm gonna try to get a picture of an Accord transmission. Well, they're all look very similar, all the 10ATs. But anyways, I'm gonna try to get a picture up on a screen somewhere. Just look for it. And there is a little notch that you have to turn either with a wrench or a vice grip or some sort like that. And you have to turn, I believe it was at 21 degrees. I haven't had to do this yet on a 10AT, just on a 9-speed, which is similar, but in a different location. And it does go on a side of transmission. So if you're looking in the engine bay down, it's going to be on the driver's side of the transmission, on the outer part of the housing. So, and again, it looks like a little notch, and you just put a wrench or a vice grip on it or some pliers, and like that, you can release it from park and move it around if you needed to. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so next question is on a 23 Honda HR-V fill hole location. Now I'm gonna have a video on this eventually when I get to that point and I'd service a transmission on one of these. They are fairly new, so I haven't done any just yet. And going forward, any maintenance items on any of the newer cars, I'm gonna be doing videos on. The older cars, there's plenty of videos on it already, so I feel like that would just be beating a dead cat at that point. But anyways, back to the HR-V question. There is a fill hole / level hole, and that's the one Honda wants you to use, and that goes in front of the transmission. So if you're looking down into the engine bay, it's going to be closest to the radiator, and that is a 17mm nut. And of course, you'd want to change the crush washer at that point. Now, the way you could also do it most times, there is a grommet style plug, and you just pull it out from the top. It has like a little hook on it, and you pull it out and you can fill it through there as well. You would still need to take out the other drain fill check, because that's a filler and a level check at the same time. So some of the transmissions aren't, but on the HR-V it is. So you can do it either way, whatever works best for you. And sometimes you could take out a collection pan of some sort that's a measured bucket with some sort of a numerical numbers on it in quarts, and just whatever comes out, put that back in if you wanted to do it quickly. Now that would only work assuming that the fluid level was already good. So if you're not sure and you're buying a car used down the road, or if I had a leak, then obviously that won't work. So that's another way to do it. But to be safe, drain it properly and then fill it through the side. 9 out of 10 times, you could either get a funnel with a flexible hose and get in there until it starts to drip out, and then into an IV trickle, and that's how you know the trans is at the proper level. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, guys, this is the last question of the week. And once again, if you want a chance at one of your questions being answered, make sure you guys drop a comment in a comment section down below. And there's some questions that I'm going to be making dedicated videos to. So I was away on vacation for 2.5 weeks, so obviously I got some catching up to do, and I got some videos I'm working on, but I'll get to those eventually. So moving on to the question, one mod that absolutely I would avoid on the TLX Type S, and that's going to be the JB4 tuning device. And I just don't like it. It's basically a line to the ECU, and I would just absolutely avoid it. K-Tuner is a much better option. Now everybody gets all bent out of shape on which one's going to void warranty or not, and to be honest, both of them could void warranty. Yes, the JB4 would be less traceable, although typically if you get a tech like me, I'm gonna know if somebody's been messing around with the harness, and you know, there's always a little signs. So that's not really the case. And with the K-Tuner, if you flash back to stock, no one's ever gonna know. There's no flash counter or anything like that. So K-Tuner is a lot better choice in that perspective. And I would just avoid JB4 all as a whole. So hopefully that answers the question for you. And with that being said, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.